Well, it is now officially 10:01, so it's the start of my first ever World Series lecture course. So there's nothing really planned. I'm just going to wing it, play it by ear, see how it evolves. But we're going to be hosting this weekly. So it's obviously the title of the new World Series is about. It's about predominantly the new mathematics, the new science that will be developed in support of new governance and new religion. I know that sounds rather arrogant at times, but it is our intention for our collective and our members and partners to enlighten this world, especially in this dark age. So, so pretty much the series will go is I will give a 10, 15 or whatever minutes is required to give just a general overview of the topic. And then at the end of it, people can ask their question, and we'll discuss the topic in detail. And I'll obviously try my best to answer whatever question that's posed to me. So for this first in the series, the title is Why 4 is the Divine Genetic Code for God and all of life. So, so I'm going to share my screen with you, just to give you a screenshot of my, if I can just find it. Yeah, there it is. So I developed this, what I term new mathematics, although those that know mathematics will aware that what I'm showing is actually just the equivalent of mod 4 number theory, the modulus of 4. So I'm not claiming that I invented mod 4, but what I am claiming is that I'm interpreting in a different manner. I'm obviously starting off with the basis here, Euler's famous number, perhaps the most sacred formula. If Einstein equals mc squared, the most famous scientific equation, and Euler's formula is probably the most famous in mathematics, since it contains all the universal constants, including E, I, and -1. So from this, I propose that the actual numbers can be grouped into 4 groups. What I term as positive real, positive imaginary, negative real, negative imaginary. Now I use these axes because these are a reference to the real and imaginary components for complex numbers. So how does this tie in to my twin universe? Well, I'll obviously explain that later on, but you see for the real positive unit, the unit number is 1, and for the imaginary, of course, it's I. So I apologize for those that are not so much into math, but I just want to give a brief basis of where this natural number 4 is coming from. So this is the illustration of these 4 natural numbers. Hi, Jules. So as I said, so the 4 numbers are represented within this circle. So all the natural numbers I'm stating can be categorized into this group. So for the positive even, it's 0, 4, 8, etc. For the positive odd, it is 1, 5, 9, etc. And now, obviously, the question is, what's the use of this? A tool is of no use if it cannot actually be used for a function. So it is only useful if it has an application. And obviously, I will show you what these applications are. So I'm just gonna get out of the share, stop sharing for now, and so everything that I describe in these lecture series, almost everything I should say, are contained within this 100 page of the God manuscript. And I actually forgot to bring is also translated into Spanish by Andrea Wen, Dios, and it's also been translated into German Gott by Christine Schirlach. So those are already been published. It's also in the process of being translated into Italian by Seb, into Hebrew by Neil, into French by Sonia, into Arabic by Amal, into Persian by Ali, and I apologize, into Dutch by Susan. I apologize for all the others that I forgot to mention about. So everything that I'm giving is in this book. So I showed you the 4 quadrant of the natural numbers. So now the question is, of what use is this? And I'm going to go back to sharing. Okay, I apologize also for the background noise. So you may hear my 2 parrots squawking a lot. They obviously want attention. They obviously want their breakfast as well fed. And that whirling sound is my computer fan. So anyway, so they may be distracting, but as a true professional, I have to plow forward. So I apologize for the background noise. So anyway, I'm not going to go through all these proofs I said to you. You can obviously either get the book. By the way, those that want this PDF for free, I'm more than happy to send you copies. So the knowledge and the truth that be given to me is also freely available. So obviously, if you want a hard copy, you have to buy this off Amazon, including the Spanish version and including the Dutch version. If you want those free copy, then the copyright belongs to the translator, Andrea Wen, for the Spanish, and to Christine Schirlach for the German. So you need the free copy digital, then you need to ask them for those free copies. So anyway, along with this new way of interpreting the natural numbers in a mod 4 format, I also developed these new arithmetic rules: how to add, how to multiply, and how to divide these divine numbers. And again, I'm not going to go into great too detail, but one curiosity you'll notice is in the bottom on the division, you see the uniqueness in the sense that this is not observation symmetric. So whereas the 2 top are symmetric, this is actually a fundamental characteristic that also allows one to, in a way, interpret Raman's hypothesis. For those that know Raman's hypothesis, it basically is a theory that defines how the prime numbers are all characterized. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's one of the most fundamental mathematical conundrum that's yet to be solved. But this quadrant rules is actually one way of illustrating the distribution of prime numbers. So this is a formulation of how these 4 natural numbers can be used for composing composite numbers and prime numbers. And I even define 2 prime equations. So out of these 4 natural numbers, I actually state the prime numbers are actually grouped into 2 different categories of prime numbers. So in the current natural number formulation, there's only 1 prime grouping. Here, there's actually 2 prime grouping. And on what use for it? Well, I use this formula to solve the Goldbach conjecture, which has been unsolved for, I don't know, I think it's like 300 years. So this is how effective this new formulation. So this is the solution for solving the Goldbach conjecture. And then there's another interpretation of how these 4 natural numbers can also be developed for the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio. And this is the ultimate discovery. So it's good solving math problem but this takes it to a different quantum state, if you want to call it that. And from this 4-quadrant, I was able to interpret that the universe itself is a living entity, and that its cosmic gene is composed of these 4 natural numbers, and it matches the same 4 DNA code that makes up all of life. So as you know, all organism, every single living organism that is a multicellular, that is, are made up of these 4 codes, C and G, A, and T. Of course, viruses are made up of the same code, except I can't remember now which way G is replaced with the U, but it's still made up of 4 codes. So every single living entities are based off 4 codes. So I am making the claim that the cosmos itself is mathematically defined as a living organism made up of these 4 codes. So here is the genome sequence for the cosmos. So it goes from 0 to 360. Now, again, I'm not going to go into, like I said to you, I don't want this lecture to go on for hours and hours, but those that study spirituality or even mathematics are fully aware of the divine number that is 360. 360 has a very, very significant number in a lot of cultures, in a lot of religion, in a lot of things. So again, you can just Google this, see how significant 360 is. So I'm stating that the genetic code of the cosmos is made up of 360. So you see it goes to 369, but then it goes back onto itself to zeros, and that's where you get your 360. So I did the equivalent of a genome sequencing based off this 360. So below is the DNA mathematical genome sequence of the cosmos itself, or in other words, the living God. Okay. So, all right. So this is the 360. So you say, okay, well, why not make it 500? Why not make it 1,000? Why, what's the use of this? Anyone can claim these numbers. So any theory is only of use if you can make predictions that you can then match to experimental observation number. So using this sacred 360, which, as I said, is a very sacred number, from the beginning of time, you go back to biblical Egyptian time and whatever time, 360 has always been a very, very significant. It's not just 360 degrees in a circle. It is actually, like I said to you, I'll let you Google the fact. So as in all DNA sequences, the codes are paired. So as I mentioned before, the DNA code, as I just go back up here, so C and G, A and T are paired, and similarly N plus and N minus is paired, and NI and N minus I is paired. So out of the 360 genes, it is paired into 180 base pairs, okay? So I took this divine 180 base pair and I calculated what is the possible number permutation of quantum state that you can generate out of 180 base pair. And again, the equation, the calculations are all here, and you can either get the book or I can send you the documents that you check for yourself. But using that permutation, I was able to calculate that the possible number of quantum states is 10 to the power 82. So what is the significance of this? Well, the significance of this is that the actual observable number of particles in our universe happens to be around 10 to the power 82. Therefore, I don't believe this is coincidence. I believe this is the actual fact that the cosmos is mathematically made up of 180 base pair, and it's from this amount of code that you can get the number of particles 10 to the power 82. Now, as you all know, all human life, humans, ants, and a bacteria, what makes us the way we are is based off our gene code. So those gene codes, those 4 gene codes determine our characteristic. It determines the color of our hair, the eye color, it determines everything. So I'm saying the equivalent is that this 180 base pair also determines the exact number of quantum particles in our universe. Okay, so therefore there is a calculable prediction which matches observation. So I believe it is absolutely amazing that this divine 360 that gives you the 180 base pair calculates the exact number of particles in this universe. Now, this math not only defines the genome code for God, but it also defines how God and creation happens. Because those that study biology knows that all single cellular organisms, prokaryotes, single cell like bacteria, replicate by what is known as binary fission. So they do not sexually replicate like mammals, like we are, male and female. They literally split by fission into two. So here is two circular genomes. So we'll call this, so in this case, this is the genome of God, but this is actually also what a bacteria genome also look like. So when the biblical fact said that God made life in his image, then in that essence, yes, God made life in his image. And the very, very first image of life is what? A bacteria. So how did the bacteria replicate? Well, binary fission. They split into two identical entities. Well, in my twin universe theory, the genome of God, this 180 base pair, splits into two. But the two happens now to be the two twin universe, positive and negative universe. And here is a table that lists the comparison of a bacteria and of God. So yes, am I calling God the cosmic bacteria, the most, in a way, the most simplistic bacteria? But this simplistic bacteria is also the thing that created all entity, including every particle in this universe. And I'm not just saying that, as you saw from the calculation above, I actually calculate the number of actual particles in our universe based on this divine entity. So, and then obviously, I'm not going to cover the twin universe in this first week. In further follow-up lectures, I will describe how the twin universe is experimentally provable. Again, how it quantified dark energy, dark matter, missing antimatter, quantum entanglement. So it can predict experimental value that can be matched to observation. So that's why I arrogantly state that the twin universe is the only plausible scientific theory that is correct. You know, so one leads to the other, but today is based on the pure mathematics. So there's four natural numbers, where it comes from, and how it defines the genome of God, and how this can be used to calculate the actual number of particles in our universe. But anyway, so that is, so I'm going to stop sharing this now. And I'm going to take any questions that anyone may have to ask me about this first lecture course. And so, any questions out there?
I was just, you know, that, you know, the twin, you know, the bacteria split, is that the same? Are you talking about mitosis when you're talking about that, the phenomena of mitosis when, and I was just thinking, because it's, you know, when you talk about multi-universe rather than twin universe, and, you know, with mitosis, it continues on into infinity once it does the first split.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, just like an egg in a human cells, you know, when an egg is fertilized by a sperm, you obviously get one fertilized egg, and then it splits into two, and then four and eight. And obviously in a human, it doesn't split to infinity. It obviously eventually grows into the number of cells. I've forgotten how many cells is in a human thing, trillion, I'm not sure, but yeah, it splits into a number of cells. So in that sense, obviously in the twin universe, what I'm saying is it splits into the two singular cells, which is a positive universe and a negative universe. And at that state, it stops. So the replication of the universe itself stops at just two universes. So the entire cosmos is basically a dual bacteria. So you can call it Adam and Eve in the biblical sense. Now, of course, you mentioned about multiverse. So that's something that, now I'm not the first one to come up with multiverse. The multiverse was actually first coined I believe by a Scottish doctor 150 years ago. So, so obviously a lot of this in parallel universe was first proposed by the famous Russian scientist, Sakharov. He's the father of the Russian atomic bomb. So again, I'm not claiming I came up with multiverse or parallel universe. What I'm claiming, just like the math, I'm not claiming I was the first to do mod 4 arithmetic. What I'm claiming is how I'm interpreting. So just like the new mathematics, I'm using a different arithmetic way. And by using this new developed arithmetic way, which I call it new mathematics, I'm able to solve conjectures, give new interpretation, Riemann hypothesis, etc. And similarly with the twin universe, I'm not the first thought on multiverse or parallel universe, but I'm first to use the twin universe interpretation, the laws of thermodynamics. That is the new concept, and that's why I call it my new science. Even that may sound arrogant, but that's how I came up with it.
No, I think it's true.
And based on that twin universe, I was able to solve all this cosmic unknown. Now, obviously, then the question asked is, all right, so based on this God genome 180 and it splits into two twin universe, positive and negative. Obviously, in my twin universe interpretation, it stopped. But the one question that has to be answered still, which I'm not going to cover in this lecture because it's really in depth, is there more bacteria? Are we in a sea of bacteria? So when you look at a culture, you don't normally just see one bacteria. So one bacteria, you put a culture there, you put a bacteria then it spreads. So then you get 2 bacteria, and then within hours you get hundreds of bacteria. Within a day you get millions of bacteria. So then the ultimate in this culture that is the great cosmos that we live in, we have within this culture this one bacteria, which I will call it Adam or God, that splits into this twin universe that we live on one side of the universe. Then the question is, in this greater cosmos, are there other universes, other cosmic bacteria, now if they all replicate the same, if you visualize it the same, this is like a culture this culture this is a cosmos, then right now there's no proofs. On the other hand, there's no way of me to disprove it that they could well exist other cosmic, so this multi-universe entity. If that's the case, then by my interpretation, then each of these universes has its own God, because its own God appears in one part of that universe. So if that's the case, then the multiverse has multi-God. So that is something that I would love to discuss, because that goes into the heart of a lot of stuff. But like I said to you, so that is a very, very searching question, which I love to cover with you and other people at a different date. So, but now, based on the mathematics, has come this one cosmic entity, which I refer to as the God chromosome 180. And at that, it has split like a bacteria into the binary fission into 2 universes, a positive and a negative. Okay, so from our reference frame as the human being within this universe, then we can only accept that based on my theory, of course, based on my theory, that there is only one other universe, and that's a mirror universe to ourselves. And in that other universe, ourselves is the combined consciousness of all our twins, which is combined as God. So in our little culture dish, which contains only our cosmos, which contains only our 2 twin universe, then there's only one God and based around 2 universes. But to your question, is there multiverse, that other pockets of other cosmic bacteria of life? Then that is something that I would love to discuss with you and others at a different time. But based on that,
I hadn't thought of it then. I just because you said about bacteria, and I thought, the way DNA functions in the actor that stops it from going further just suddenly fascinated me. So Yeah, I was just saying, I hadn't even thought about that before you said that. Then that was also
Yeah.
didn't mean to send you off on a tangent.
No, it's not off a tangent. It's actually a tangent. As you know, I hope Andrew don't get offended, but I've been debating this with her for the last couple of weeks, exactly on this. And believe it or not, it's based on the interpretation that we're trying to interpret on the Lord's Prayer. I've been trying to decipher that word for word. So it's strange, but it has led to the same exact questions that you asked. And it is a fundamental question that we're answering. So yes, but for now, limited to just this formulation of the mathematics, defining it just as the creation of the God genome, and from the God genome is the creation of this binary fission into a twin universe. And and like I said to you, a theory is only as effective if it can make prediction that we can match with observation. And another day, when we come to science, the new science that I developed with the twin universe, then I'll go into how the twin universe makes predictions and how those predictions matches all these unknowns, including dark energy, dark matter, etc., etc. On this new mathematics, of course, I used it, as I showed you, to solve many mathematical conjecture that's remained unsolved for centuries. So that's why I'm very, very proud. I'm very confident that this new arithmetic way that I've developed is very useful for humanity. Okay, I mean, just like obviously one of my heroes, probably the greatest mathematician science, is Isaac Newton, as you're obviously fully aware. His development of calculus, differential equation, and integral, when he first developed it, he developed it just to calculate the gravity. But obviously, differential equation is now used in everything, absolute everything. There is no mathematics would totally collapse into dark ages without that. Things like even quantum physics, which is the basis of our modern interpretation of our life, requires differential equation to basically calculate the Schrodinger equation, how the wave functions of particle form throughout the universe. So what Newton developed 300 odd years ago has basically over time morphed to where it's now used in everything. And I'm hoping, again, it may sound arrogant, but I'm hoping that this new 4 natural number will have that similar significance, that it will help humanity solve a lot of these unknown problems, and ultimately lead to new solutions for new clean energy, new faster than light travel. Yeah, these are topics that are feasible. A lot of people ask me, can you travel faster than the speed of light? Well, not obviously within the restriction of our existing theory and I think, but there are ways, like in the other universe, time goes backwards, etc. So you can morph the two. Then yes, believe it or not, you can actually go back in time and travel faster than the speed of light. But again, I don't want to dive into that topic. I'll leave that for a different day. But this new mathematics and this new science is not just for curiosity. It's there for humanity to use and come up with solutions and practical application that it can be used to make this new world a better world. So I genuinely believe that. So yeah.
I think it is that thing about creating that kind of creating new parameters, isn't it? Really, to measure against, kind of thing, rather than thinking that there's all these ideas and they all go out and then it gives us a new parameter to say, if we know that to be the case, what does that imply about the rest
exactly.
of it? So I find fascinating.
Yeah, that's the beauty of science, of mathematics, is that we always think that we reach the end of knowledge. So during Newton's time 300 years ago, when they thought Newton, they thought all science has been discovered. So last century, at the beginning of last century, again, a lot of arrogant scientists said, and mathematicians said, well, everything's now solved. We have quantum physics, which describes behavior at the micro scale. And then we have relativity, Einstein's theory of relativity, which describes things on the giant scale. So a lot of arrogant scientists said, well, we solved everything now, then as we uncover more, then we come to a brick wall. Like what is dark energy? No one can explain. Well, my twin universe can, but no one can explain why is the universe expanding. So the arrogance gets its bubble bursts, and that's how science is. And to be honest with you, obviously I bring religion in this because, as you know, my personal goal is to unify religion and science. So I believe religion is also, the beauty of religion should be evolving. We as a species evolve, therefore everything should not be stagnated. All right. So it is good for humans to evolve to high states of consciousness. Similarly, it is good for science to evolve to new theories that can deliver new solutions and new ways of making this a better world and more peaceful world. And similarly, I believe religion needs to also evolve and take in new concepts, new ways of thinking, new moralities, so is ever evolving. So, and I'm excited by this movement that we created, that obviously Jules, I'm blessed to have you and other members of our collective be part of this. And it is our goal to enlighten humanity and shine the light away from this darkness using knowledge and truth. Okay, that is our as I tell people, divinely, I'm giving the shield of knowledge and the sword of truth. Okay, and this is what this lectures course on this New World lecture series is to deliver knowledge and truth. So Jules, it's a pleasure always talking to you. You are obviously an inspirational mind. I know what a sharp mind you are indeed, and you inspire a lot of people, and we all have to do our bit, especially like I said to you in this dark time. So unless there's any other question, Jules, I'm gonna close this out. I think this has been a very productive, and I've definitely enjoyed it. And
I really want to do this. I really want to have you doing it, and it's really lovely to have it because it's just been able to really concentrate on what it is we believe to be what you're doing. You can imagine, because I talked to you years ago about it, but it's developed and developed and developed, and I'm just catching moments. So this is a really brilliant opportunity to put it all together for me. Especially there's just some stuff going on about warm data at the moment that really fits with what you're doing, so.
And just be aware, my intention is to have you as a guest speaker on one of these lecture series, okay? Because I know you have a lot also to give to the world, not just as a brilliant composer, musician, but your campaign for women's issues, especially for health issues, mental health issues. That's why I made this a new world. Because as you're fully aware, during this pandemic age, obviously a lot of people have died, but also a lot of people have suffered, but suffered mentally as well. So one of the things moving forward in this new world is that that potentially can be a huge mental crisis coming to our world. So one of the things that we need to obviously discuss and not just run away and hide. The new world's not going to be all roses and sunshine and people hopping and skipping and singing merry song. That's eventually that hopefully will happen in 100, 1,000 years. But to get to that point, we need to obviously do the hard work. So I would want you to also prepare and talk about various topics that you are definitely an expert on, that will also enlighten this world, obviously on your creative side of things. But right now, most importantly, obviously on your campaign, especially on the health, mental health campaign and on women's issue. I think that's a critical topic that we definitely need to cover in this New World lecture. So thanks also to my sister Cher for being on, and I hope those that are watching on Facebook, on the world, hopefully got something out of this. And I apologize if you post any comments on Facebook. I've not been reading it. I'm like trying to multitask, but I will, hopefully cover some of the questions that you did ask. And I will resume next week on a different topic. Okay. So God bless you all. Thank you again. It's been most enjoyable.
Bye. Well done, Leon.